each of you use transit?
Every day.
Pretty much every day.
Every day.
Whether we like it or not, we take it every day.
I would say every day but Sunday for me.
Okay, every day.
It's so hard to ride on Sundays.
Every day. Every day.
And it's like, I mean, unfortunately, I mean, luckily I still live with my mother, so it's like I have to, whenever there's no service, she just has to drive me to work, and that's not right.
And you use both rail and buses?
I am right now.
Both?
That may change.
So, both, it transfers, that's part of
Well, the rail, as I said, another thing, they want to put the cars on Main Street, that's going to affect the reliability of the rail.
Yes.
I mean, right now, they want to put a drawbridge on there. I call it drawbridge, so the wheelchairs can go up.
Right.
And if that thing breaks down, the driver's going to have to do it. Now, they say you count on that thing being on time, and it's not going to be reliable. People are going to have to be making turns. They don't pay attention to the people in crosswalks. Now, you can imagine what they're doing down.
Well, not only that, not only do they not pay attention to people in crosswalks, every once in a while you'll see somebody who's blocking the road and the train can't get through.
Thursday in a square.
And that becomes a problem, especially during the high traffic areas.
When they put the cars on Main Street, it's going to be
even worse.
I think it won't be reliable. Because the train, you got to say,
right.
But you want to make a connection. And if you can't count on the connection, you're not going to do it.
Right now, my understanding, it's about 99% of the time.
Well, again, that's based on the fact that 5 minutes late is considered on time. And to me, 5 minutes late is
that's
too far.
That's the bus, not the rail. The rail.
Oh, the rail, yeah, the rail.
The rail is 99%.
Yeah, the rail is 99%.
Well, luckily, I never really had a problem with it being late early. I mean, yes, it's happened, but I think 99% of my complaints with this system is the lack of frequency, and that the fact that it doesn't run 24 hours or at least really late at night.
I honestly, the size of Buffalo, I don't know if there'd be enough riders.
Well,
24 hours.
All these cars. I mean, maybe
smaller vehicles.
Let's go either to Main Street Transit Road or Seneca Street. I don't know, just to name a few. Let's count how many buses and how many cars and do a ratio of how many cars we see for every bus we see. Or Elmwood, perfect example. How many buses to cars, and maybe that's where we'll get our answer of that. Maybe if there's more cars, it's because there's no buses, and vice versa.
There was for a while, weren't they doing a college route from Elmwood, from downtown to some of the colleges, like late
I think there's
weekends, until like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m.
I mean, I'm not a night bird, but I know some people are.
It's not like they do a lot of late service, but there is a little bit.
Yeah, it was the entertainment shuttle that went from Elmwood to Canisius to Medaille to Buff State.
Well, figure us, Buffalo being like one of the poorest cities in the country, we rely on these jobs that are not really high paying, mostly in the retail industry, such as like myself, and like we work pretty much very late at night, as late as 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And because of that.
So late shifts. Late shifts. So one of the questions that we're looking at is the switch riders. Do we need? We need to concentrate on those who are dependent?
Yes.
Or those who could choose to ride or not because they have alternatives.
I think the problem is a lot of people can't choose between one or the other, because either they take it because they can't afford a car, or they drive because they can't take the bus. I find very few people who say they choose. Honestly, no one chooses what they.
So the whole idea of choice is
really not.
Kind of not.
But we got to, with global warming, with gas prices and everything in between. It's going to be no choice for they have to invest in public transit, less cars on the road. Especially, car companies are eventually going to go out of business anyways. There won't be as many cars to go around. Whether we like,
right? Fly around in jetpacks.
It's like we have to adapt to change, and we have to start looking at the future instead of yesterday's world. And I mean, my point is we got to start looking outside the box. Look at what others more successful cities are luckily not considered the top 10 poorest, what they're doing, what we're not doing.
Portland. I've got a couple of questions on how you use the system. How many of you always use one of those schedules before you go out?
Oh yeah, always.
Do you all plan your trips?
Oh, of course, because of the infrequency in service, we have to.
Right, but how frequent would it have to be before you would stop that habit of getting?
Well, if I take the same bus every day, then obviously, or the same exact time, then obviously I don't need it anymore. But usually
in a
that.
general sense, if a bus ran every 30 minutes, you'd probably still have to have the schedule and plan if you were varying your trip.
But then if the bus ran every like 5 minutes, I mean, what that'll ever happen? Then you probably won't need a schedule because you just when one comes by, you have the next
15
one.
minutes, would you be comfortable enough if you knew it was all day 15 minutes that you would just go out?
I think
without
15
looking?
minutes.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. You know.
Okay, sure. Because one of the key questions that we work through with organisations is determining what is, an optimum frequency for a lot of their service. And it's not the same answer in a city like Buffalo versus, downtown Manhattan. I mean,
Yeah.
Clearly the answers are somewhat different, but the frequency is the principle is the same. You get to a certain level where you have the confidence to just walk out and use the system and know that it will deliver reliably, and you won't have to wait an uncomfortably long time, particularly when the weather is what it is in winter.
It's interesting that you ask that question, because I live on a route that typically goes anywhere from 30 minutes to sometimes every 60 minutes. And the way it is now, I kind of have the connections kind of memorized, but starting in 2 weeks, they're totally changing my route, and all those connections, I'm going to have to totally relearn them because it's going to totally mess things up. I know they try to tweak things and try to get the connections to work better, but my route, they've totally blown it up and totally not even going to work anymore.
And if it was 15 minutes on both the lines you try to use, would that mean that you wouldn't even have that concern? You would just simply move between the two?
I wouldn't even worry about it.
Or would it be where there was no changes in time from sign up to sign up?
What do you mean, sign up?
Like it's changing in 2 weeks.
Yes.
We're coming into our summer schedule change. That's when we change.
That's when you change, but
Right.
if I may, I've lived where I lived for 2.5 years. This is the first time when they've done a major change on my route. It's totally, they've gone from very consistent service to now it's totally...
What route are you on?
22. I can show you the changes. It's like they totally blew up the schedule and started.
And that just happened this past sign up. Will we reduce some service? If you look at Saturday and Sunday.
Well, no, it's Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday, where we reduced it to a 30-minute headway.
Yes, and then
after 7 or 8 o'clock.
No, I think they from about 3 o'clock on, they went to an hour.
An hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many of you actually travel to downtown Buffalo as your main destination generally?
Well,
it's still
quite a bit.
a fairly important venue for a lot of you, but I imagine there are some other key destinations around the city that you are trying to access. I'd love to hear a little bit more about some of those other journeys that you try to make each day.
I can show you the old 22 and the new 22, and it's totally different. It's not even close.
So what other destinations outside of downtown
that you love to travel to frequently, or you need?
The malls, the stores, and the doctors, and jobs.
Okay, so the malls, so you mean Galleria?
And all the places that are nearby it, obviously. Plazas. The bus should go into the plazas like it does sort of into the malls.
Well, I mean, like the 6, it goes to Thruway Mall, and then it goes to Galleria.
I mean, we keep talking about big city, small city. You go to the small city of Erie, I mean, their service is pretty good for a tiny city, or Binghamton even. I think, if they can do it in a tiny city, we can do so much more.
So malls are...
And plazas. Some people don't really like malls, they like plazas, or for like Target, Walmart, places of that type.
In your case, how difficult is it to get to Walmart Galleria as an example?
Oh, extremely difficult. I have to go downtown and back out again. I think that's ridiculous. If
you went cross country, where would you go? Is it much shorter if you had a route that went cross country? Or is it simply that you're in one corner that's more relevant to, say, Boulevard Mall or one of the other major malls?